My wife cheated on me with my best friend forever, and when I found out, she said she only married me for money, so I smiled. What happened in court left her speechless. I, a 35-year-old male, met Celeste, a 32-year-old female, back in 2014. I was 24 then, already making solid money as a hazmat truck driver with my own house I'd bought at 22. She was hot, confident, and made me feel like the most interesting guy in the room. Our relationship moved way too fast. 6 months in, she moved into my place. My buddy Caleb, a 33-year-old male, helped us move her stuff. Caleb and I grew up together, worked construction one summer, and stayed tight ever since. He was always at my place, fixing things, watching games, and hanging out. We got married after dating for 2 years, a small ceremony at her parents' lake house. Caleb was my best man. His speech makes me want to punch a wall now, all that crap about loyalty and brotherhood. After the wedding, Celeste pushed hard for a kid. I wanted to build more savings first, but she insisted her biological clock was ticking. Lucas was born in November 2019. Being a dad changed everything for me. I switched from cross-country roads to regional, taking a 30% pay cut just to be home more often. I still had to be on the road 2 to 3 nights weekly, but it was worth it to watch my son grow up. That's when I noticed Celeste changing. The appreciation stopped. Coming home from halls, I'd walk in the door to a list of complaints instead of a welcome. Garage door still broken. Lucas being difficult all day. Her mother said something annoying. No recognition for the financial sacrifices I was making. My brother Adam, a 38-year-old male, noticed it during Lucas' first birthday visit after Celeste snapped at me for buying the wrong wine for her mom. He pulled me aside. "Dude, when did she start treating you like her employee instead of her husband?" I brushed it off. "She's just stressed with the baby." Adam raised an eyebrow. "If you say so, just remember, you're the one keeping this ship afloat and it's your house she's living in." Caleb stayed heavily involved during those years. I thought I had a solid marriage and the best friend a guy could ask for. What a freaking joke that turned out to be. Things imploded when I got home from a 4-day haul that had been a complete nightmare. Mechanical issues, inspection delays, traffic due to a highway pileup. I was supposed to be back Wednesday for Lucas' preschool dinosaur presentation, but didn't make it until Thursday evening. I walked through the door exhausted, just wanting a shower. Instead, I walked into Hurricane Celeste. "Finally decided to grace us with your presence," she started before I could set down my bag. "Lucas was looking for you yesterday during his presentation, kept asking where Daddy was." "I told you the truck broke down," I said evenly. "Called you twice about it." "There's always some excuse." She rolled her eyes, tapping on her phone. "You know Jason from my yoga class? His tech job lets him work from home 3 days weekly. He never misses his kids' events." "Yeah, does Jason's job pay for this house? Your Range Rover? Lucas's private preschool?" I shot back. "Maybe if you got a real job instead of driving trucks like some high school dropout, you could be home more and make decent money." That hit a nerve. I've been taking the most dangerous high-paying routes for years, saving carefully, investing in our future. All while she worked part-time and spent like we had unlimited funds. "Let's get something straight," I said. "My patience gone. This house is mine. I bought it before I met you. I pay for everything while you blow through money like it's nothing. Your friends with their fancy vacations? Most are in debt up to their eyeballs or living off daddy's money. We're building wealth while they're building credit card debt. At least they're enjoying their lives," she snapped. "When's the last time we went anywhere? Did anything fun? All you care about is work." "Someone has to think about our future," I replied. "Lucas's future." "Speaking of Lucas," she shot back. "Maybe he deserves a father who's actually present." I felt my jaw clench. If I'm such a disappointment as a father, why'd you have a kid with me in the first place? That's when she said it, face twisted with anger. "I only married you because I thought he was yours." The room went silent. Even Lucas, playing with dinosaurs in the living room, looked up. "What did you just say?" My voice was dangerously quiet. Her eyes widened as she realized what she'd admitted. "I didn't mean that." She backpedaled immediately. "I'm just frustrated and saying stupid things. Babe, come on, you know I didn't mean it." But I recognized that look. That wasn't just anger talking. There was truth in those words. "Lucas," I said, keeping my voice steady, "go play in your room for a bit, buddy. Daddy needs to talk to Mommy." After he went upstairs, I turned to Celeste. "You've got one chance to tell me what the hell that was about." It was nothing. I was angry. "You know how I get when I'm upset." She tried touching my arm. I stepped back. "I'm going out," I said flatly. "Don't wait up." I drove to Adam's place and told my dispatcher I needed personal days. Adam took one look at my face when I arrived and knew something was seriously wrong. "She finally showed her true colors?" he asked. "You don't know the half of it," I replied. "I didn't go home that night, crashed at Adam's. I spent the morning planning my next steps. I wasn't about to confront Celeste without proof. If she'd been cheating, I needed solid evidence before she could spin some story. Adam told me I needed a lawyer before anything. He had been through his own divorce 3 years earlier and learned the hard way that acting without legal advice could destroy you. He gave me a name, Patricia Goldstein, an attorney who'd helped him navigate his split. I called her office that morning and got an emergency consultation that afternoon. Patricia was in her 50s, direct and no nonsense. I explained what happened. Celeste slipped during our argument, my suspicions about Lucas, everything. The first thing we need to do is the paternity test to confirm if you're Lucas's father because that changes things, she explained. Even if Lucas wasn't biologically mine, I'd likely still be considered his legal father after 5 years of parenting him, but knowing the truth would shape our strategy. Next was protecting my finances. The house was mine, so it wasn't considered marital assets, which was good. But she said we'd need documentation proving I purchased it before marriage and that I'd maintained it primarily with my separate funds. She also advised checking all financial accounts thoroughly. I've seen this pattern before. When someone is having an affair, they often start diverting funds to prepare for their exit. Armed with professional legal advice, I began a careful investigation. First, I checked our phone records. Celeste and I shared a family plan so I could see calls and texts on both lines. There was a number that showed up constantly, especially when I was on the road. Hundreds of texts, late-night calls. I recognized it immediately, Caleb. The pattern was crystal clear. The communication always ramped up when I left for a haul, then dropped off when I was home, going back years. Next, I ordered a paternity test from a reputable company Patricia recommended. I had it sent to Adam's place so Celeste wouldn't intercept it. While waiting for the test kit, I continued gathering evidence. I checked our shared iPad where Celeste sometimes forgot to log out of her accounts. Sure enough, her messenger was still logged in. I found messages between her and Caleb going back years. Most were casual enough on the surface, but reading between the lines was easy. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. He'll be gone till Sunday. Last night was exactly what I needed. Miss you already. But what really got me were the recent messages from this week. Miss you. Can't wait to feel you again tomorrow. When is he leaving for his next haul? I need more than a few hours with you. Maybe we should just tell him. Rip the band-aid off. You know, I'll take care of you and Lucas. This wasn't just some past affair they'd ended. This was ongoing. Happening under my nose with my wife while I was working my ass off to provide for them. I took screenshots of everything, saved them to a secure cloud account. I also started keeping a detailed log of my parenting time with Lucas, noting all the activities we did together, school events I attended, and medical appointments I took him to. The paternity test arrived 3 days later. My sample was easy. For Lucas, I told Celeste I was taking him fishing on Saturday morning. Instead, we went for breakfast at Denny's where I swabbed his cheek in the bathroom. He thought it was a game. I sent it all off priority mail and forced myself to wait. 5 days later, I got the email with the results. I opened it in Adam's kitchen. My brother standing beside me for moral support. Probability of paternity, 99.99%. Lucas was mine. I felt a rush of relief so intense my knees nearly buckled. Thank God, Adam said, reading over my shoulder. That's one less complication. Following Patricia's advice, I also did a deep dive into our finances. What I found made my blood boil. Regular withdrawals of $200 to $500 from our joint account, always when I was on the road. Over the past year, these added up to nearly $28,000. Money I'd worked 60-hour weeks to earn, hauling hazardous materials in my Freightliner M2 across state lines. I pulled our credit reports too. I discovered a credit card in her name I knew nothing about, opened 8 months ago, already carrying a $16,000 balance. Based on the statement I managed to download, she'd been using it for hotel rooms, expensive restaurants, and shopping sprees. All while I was driving across the country thinking we were saving for Lucas's college fund. I called Patricia again, told her what I'd found. Following her advice, I opened a new account at a different bank in my name only, started redirecting my paychecks there, leaving just enough in the joint account to cover legitimate household expenses. I also pulled most of my savings into a secured account Patricia helped me set up that Celeste couldn't access. I didn't empty our joint accounts, but I protected what I could legally protect. I also gathered documentation showing the house was purchased 2 years before our marriage with all mortgage payments coming from my separate earnings account. With financial protections in place, paternity confirmed, and overwhelming evidence of the affair, I was ready to move forward with divorce proceedings. Patricia drafted the papers while I continued gathering evidence and documenting my parenting time with Lucas. With divorce papers ready and finances secured, I decided to confront them separately. Caleb first, then Celeste. I called Caleb, told him I needed help looking at a used boat I was thinking of buying, asked if he could meet me at the marina Saturday morning. He agreed immediately. When he pulled up, I was waiting by my truck. No boat in sight. "Where's the boat?" he asked, climbing out of his Silverado. "There's no boat," I said flatly. "Sit down. We need to talk." The color drained from his face, but he sat on the bench beside me. I took out my phone, showed him the hundreds of calls and texts between them, especially when I was on the road. "It's not what it looks like," he started, but I cut him off. "How long have you been screwing my wife, Caleb?" His mouth opened, no sound coming out. "I've got the phone records," I continued, voice eerily calm. "Hundreds of calls and texts going back years. Got the emails too and the Facebook messages from yesterday planning your next meetup." "So I'll ask again, how long?" He broke. Told me it started a few months after Celeste and I got together. On again. Off again at first. Then more regular after we got married. When she got pregnant, they weren't sure who the father was. "So you just rolled the dice with my life?" I asked. "Let me raise a kid that might have been yours." "After Lucas was born, he looked so much like you," Caleb said, eyes on the ground. "We both figured he had to be yours." I stood up. "Lucas is mine. But you and Celeste, you're both dead to me. Come on, man. We can work through this." He tried. I know I fucked up, but I cut him off. "You know what happens now? You're going to stay the hell away from me. And if you try to contact me again, I'm sending these photos and all the evidence I've gathered to your boss, your parents, and everyone we know. Try explaining to Bill how you've been banging your best friend's wife while he trusted you to run his job sites." Caleb's face went white. His boss Bill was old school, big on loyalty and family values. "You wouldn't try me," I said, walking away. Next was Celeste. I went home that evening, told her we needed to talk after Lucas was in bed. I spent the afternoon playing with my son, took him to the park, got ice cream, acted completely normal. After he was asleep, I laid everything out on the kitchen table: phone records, email printouts, the paternity test, results, the bank statements showing her withdrawals, the credit card statements showing hotels and restaurants when I was supposedly working. "What is all this?" she asked, but her face said she already knew. "Evidence," I said simply, "of your affair with Caleb. Been going on since before we got married, right? That's why you said you only married me because you thought the baby was mine." She started crying immediately. Big dramatic sobs. "I made a mistake. It didn't mean anything. It was just physical, I swear." For 6 years, I laughed without humor. "Try again and explain these." I pointed to the financial documents. $28,000, Celeste. Money I earned while you were screwing my best friend in our bed. "I was saving it," she stammered, "for emergencies." "In Caleb's mattress?" I asked coldly. "And I suppose the hotels were for emergency naps?" Her face changed. "Fine. Yes. I've been seeing Caleb. Yes. I've been saving money. Can you blame me? You're never here. You care more about your precious savings than making me happy." "Making you happy wasn't my job," I said. "Being a good husband and father was." I held up my end. "You've been cheating since month 3. What do you want?" she asked, suddenly calculating. "More sex? I can do that. A threesome with one of my friends? Just tell me what you want to stay." I slid the divorce papers across the table. "I want you to sign these." Her eyes widened. "Divorce? You can't be serious. We can work through this. Everyone makes mistakes." "A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill," I said. "Fucking my best friend for 6 years is a choice. Stealing nearly $30 from our family is a choice. Thousands of choices day after day. What about Lucas?" she demanded. "He needs his father." "Good news. I am his father and I'll be staying in his life. You, on the other hand, are about to have a very rude awakening." She switched tactics, her voice turning cold. "If you think I'm letting you take my son, you're delusional. Courts always favor the mother. You're gone half the time with your job. You'll be lucky if you get every other weekend." I smiled then, which seemed to unnerve her. "We'll see about that. By the way, I've already moved most of our money to a safe account your name isn't on. The credit card you've been hiding has been reported as fraudulent, and I've informed my company that you're no longer authorized to access my benefits or insurance information." Her face went pale. "You can't do that." "Already done." "Oh, and since the house is legally mine from before our marriage with documentation to prove it, you'll be the one moving out. I've booked you a room at the Marriott for 2 weeks. Your choice whether Caleb joins you there." "I'm not leaving," she shouted. "This is my home too." I slid a folder across the table. "Your stuff's packed. It's in the guest room. You can take it now or I can have it delivered to your parents' house tomorrow." "Your choice." "You son of a bitch," she hissed. "You won't get away with this." "I already have," I replied calmly. "You did this, Celeste, not me. Every decision you made led to this moment. Sign the papers or we can do this the hard way. Either way, we're done." The next day, I met with Patricia again to formalize our strategy. I brought the recording of my conversation with Celeste, which she reviewed carefully. "This confirms the affair and the financial impropriety," she said. "Both give us grounds for divorce. The financial aspect is particularly helpful. Judges take a very dim view of one spouse secretly diverting marital assets." She explained that in our state, while adultery was grounds for divorce, it typically didn't impact financial settlements unless marital assets were used to fund the affair, which Celeste had clearly done. "The recording of her threatening to keep Lucas from you is concerning," Patricia noted, "but one emotional outburst isn't enough to deny her significant parenting time. The courts will look at the overall pattern of behavior and each parent's ability to provide a stable environment." She advised me to document everything moving forward: every interaction with Celeste, every minute I spent with Lucas, every penny I contributed to the household. I followed her advice to the letter and kept communication with Celeste strictly about Lucas, nothing else. Meanwhile, Celeste had moved to the Marriott, then to her parents' house when the 2 weeks were up. She'd refused to sign the divorce papers, claiming she needed time to think about it. Patricia assured me this was common and proceeded with filing them anyway. The financial discovery process revealed the total damage. Over the past 2 years, Celeste had diverted nearly $52,000 from our joint accounts, retirement funds, and credit cards. She'd opened a separate account I knew nothing about, funded by cash withdrawals and money Caleb had given her. We used this evidence to file for an emergency financial restraining order, preventing Celeste from accessing any more of our marital assets. The judge granted it immediately upon seeing the documentation. Caleb tried calling a few times. I blocked his number. He showed up at the house once when I was home. I stepped onto the porch, closed the door behind me. "I have nothing to say to you," I said quietly. "Get off my property before I call the police, and tell Celeste her settlement offer is coming through my lawyer, not her boyfriend too." Weeks after the confrontation with Celeste still refusing to sign, I filed for divorce citing irreconcilable differences, adultery, and financial misconduct. I requested full custody of Lucas with supervised visitation for Celeste until she demonstrated stability. Patricia had advised against immediately seeking full custody, explaining that courts typically start with a presumption of shared parenting unless there was clear evidence one parent was unfit. But with the financial misconduct documentation and evidence that Celeste had been planning to leave with substantial marital assets, we had a stronger case than most. Celeste was served papers at her parents' house. She showed up at my door that evening, tears streaming down her face. "You can't do this to me," she sobbed. "You can't take my son. You can't leave me with nothing after 6 years." "I'm not doing anything to you," I said calmly, making sure my phone was recording in my pocket. "These are the consequences of your actions, and I'm not taking Lucas from you. I'm providing him with a stable home while you figure your life out." "I need money," she said. "My parents are making me pay rent. I have no income. My credit cards are maxed out." "You've got a job," I reminded her. "And you had $50,000 that seems to have disappeared." "Not my problem." "You're being cruel," she accused. "This isn't the man I married." "The woman I married didn't exist," I countered. "Just a facade you put on until you got caught. Talk to my lawyer about the settlement offer. It's more than fair considering what you've done." I closed the door on her tears, called Patricia immediately, and sent her the recording. Another piece of evidence showing Celeste's priority was money, not Lucas. The initial custody hearing was eye-opening. Celeste showed up in full soccer mom mode, conservative dress, natural makeup, hair pulled back neatly, the perfect picture of maternal devotion. Her lawyer tried painting me as an absentee father, too wrapped up in my trucking job to be present in Lucas's life. They even had a calendar marked with all my away days over the past year, arguing I was gone almost 40% of the time. Then my lawyer countered with my own evidence. School records showing I was the one who most often attended parent-teacher conferences. Medical records showing I took Lucas to most doctor appointments. When I wasn't on the road, texts between Celeste and me where she complained about basic parenting tasks and regularly asked when I'd be home to take over. We had photos of the father-son fishing trips, the tree house I built in the backyard last summer using my DeWalt nailer and Milwaukee impact driver, pictures of the t-ball games I coached, plus a letter from my employer confirming I'd switched to regional routes after Lucas was born specifically to be home more, sacrificing higher-paying long-haul jobs. But the knockout punch was the financial evidence. Patricia methodically presented bank statements, withdrawal records, and credit card statements showing how Celeste had systematically diverted family funds while I was working on the road. The judge's expression darkened visibly as he reviewed the documentation. The judge ordered a temporary custody arrangement. Lucas would stay primarily with me, with Celeste having supervised visitation 3 days a week. He also appointed a guardian ad litem gal to assess what arrangement would be best for Lucas long-term and ordered both of us to take parenting classes. As we left the courtroom, I caught Celeste's stunned expression. She'd walked in expecting the judge to automatically side with her because she was the mother. Reality was setting in hard. That night, Her parents called me pleading to work things out for Lucas's sake. I was polite but firm. Her father tried the tough guy act. "You'll regret taking on our family, son." "With all due respect, sir, I already regret taking your daughter into mine," I replied, then hung up. Not 30 minutes later, my phone rang again. Celeste's mother, Linda. If her father was the intimidator, Linda was the manipulator. Had been since day one, constantly undermining me, suggesting Celeste could have done better than a truck driver. "We welcomed you into our family," she said, like she'd bestowed some great honor on me. "We've been nothing but supportive, and this is how you repay us?" By destroying our daughter's life over one little indiscretion. I actually laughed at that. One little indiscretion that lasted 6 years, stole $50,000 from our family, and made me question if my son was even mine. That kind of indiscretion? "These things happen in marriages," she said dismissively. "Men work too much, women get lonely. If you were home more, maybe she wouldn't have needed attention elsewhere." And there it was, the victim blaming I'd expected from the woman who raised Celeste to believe nothing was ever her fault. "Let me make something perfectly clear, Linda," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Your daughter's choices are her own, and now she's facing the consequences just like she should have been taught to do as a child." She gasped. "How dare you question our parenting? Funny, you've been questioning mine since Lucas was born. Telling Celeste I was too strict, too lenient, too whatever didn't match your outdated ideas. Well, now a judge and child welfare professional both agree I'm the more stable parent. How's that feel?" "You've changed," she finally said. "You used to be such a nice young man." "No, Linda. I just stopped tolerating BS. Have a nice evening." The next few months were a chess match. Celeste tried everything, claiming I was verbally abusive. Recordings proved otherwise, suggesting I was using steroids from my gym drug test. Came back clean, even trying to get Lucas to say he was scared of my angry voice. The gal saw right through it. Meanwhile, I kept building my case, documented every minute with Lucas, every school event I attended, every positive interaction with teachers and coaches. I also worked with my employer to create a more predictable schedule. Same routes every week, home every night by 7 p.m. Through it all, Lucas remained my priority. I never badmouthed Celeste in front of him, made sure he had everything he needed at both houses, and tried to maintain some sense of normality despite the chaos. "Daddy, why are you and Mommy fighting?" he asked one night as I tucked him in. "Sometimes grown-ups have big disagreements they can't work out," I said carefully. "But both Mommy and Daddy love you very much and that will never change." It broke my heart to see the confusion in his eyes, but I knew I was doing the right thing long-term. The final custody hearing came 8 months after I first filed for divorce. By then, the guardian ad litem had completed her comprehensive assessment and submitted her report to the court. Her recommendation wasn't the sweeping victory some might expect from a Reddit post, but it was far better than what most fathers get. I would have primary physical custody during the school week with Celeste having alternate weekends, Friday evening to Sunday evening, and one weeknight dinner. We would share legal custody. The gal's reasoning was detailed and balanced. She acknowledged that both Celeste and I loved Lucas and had positive qualities as parents. However, she cited several factors that led to her recommendation. My demonstrated consistency in maintaining Lucas's routines and following court orders, Celeste's documented pattern of financial irresponsibility that reflected poor judgment, her continued relationship with Caleb during the divorce proceedings confirmed by the gal's investigation, the stability of my housing and work situation compared to Celeste's more chaotic circumstances. She'd moved twice during the proceedings. The fact that I owned our family home prior to the marriage, providing Lucas with continuity in his living environment. When the judge announced his ruling largely adopting the gal's recommendation, Celeste couldn't maintain her composed facade any longer. "This is completely unfair," she exclaimed, rising from her seat. "I'm his mother." The judge's gavel came down. "Miss Mitchell, control yourself or I'll hold you in contempt." She struggled visibly to compose herself, her lawyer whispering urgently in her ear. As for the financial settlement, it was straightforward given our state's laws and the evidence of Celeste's financial misconduct. The house remained entirely mine as premarital property. Retirement accounts were divided $50.50 for the portion accumulated during marriage. My separate investment account remained mine since it predated the marriage. Most importantly, the judge ordered Celeste to repay the $52,000 she had diverted from our joint accounts, either as a lump sum or by forfeiting her share of other marital assets. Child support was calculated according to the state's standard formula, taking into account the custody arrangement and our incomes. Since I had primary custody and made more money, the formula actually showed Celeste owing me a small amount of child support, something that made her lawyer visibly uncomfortable when reviewing the calculations. Life after the divorce wasn't the dramatic explosion some might expect. The real story was Celeste's slow, painful collision with reality. Her first major setback came 2 weeks after the final hearing. She lost her job at the dental office after repeatedly showing up late, missing shifts, and snapping at patients. Meanwhile, Caleb had moved on, literally. He transferred to his company's Denver office. Apparently, deciding a fresh start was better than facing the fallout from our confrontation. Without her job or Caleb's support, Celeste quickly ran through what little money she had left. Her parents, for all their talk about family first, grew tired of supporting her after 3 months. They helped her get a studio apartment, but made it clear she needed to stand on her own 2 feet. The first signs of her desperation came about 4 months after the divorce was finalized. I got a text one Tuesday night. "Can we talk about Lucas and us?" I didn't respond. The custody agreement was clear. All communication was to be about Lucas only through the co-parenting app the court had mandated. The text continued over the next few weeks missing him, claiming she'd changed wanting to meet. I documented each text, forwarded them to Patricia, and replied only to those specifically about Lucas's schedule or needs. Then came the day Celeste showed up at my house unannounced. It was a Wednesday evening, not her scheduled time with Lucas. I opened the door to find her standing there, clearly having spent considerable time on her appearance, hair done, makeup perfect, wearing a dress I recognized. One I'd bought her for our anniversary 2 years ago. "What are you doing here?" I asked, keeping the door mostly closed. "I wanted to talk about us, about our family. There is no us, and any discussion about Lucas needs to happen through the co-parenting app or with our lawyers present." She tried the whole routine pleading for 5 minutes, claiming she'd changed, therapy receipts, the works. When I told her it wasn't her scheduled time and showing up unannounced violated the custody agreement, her facade cracked. "You're enjoying this, aren't you? Seeing me suffer, making me beg. I take no pleasure in any of this, but I won't let Lucas be used as a pawn in whatever game you're playing. Follow the custody agreement and we won't have any problems." She left with a warning that this wasn't over. I documented the interaction immediately and sent it to Patricia, who advised filing for a modification to the custody agreement requiring exchanges to happen at a neutral location rather than my home. The judge granted it the following week. Celeste's next move was predictable. She filed for a modification of the custody agreement, claiming she'd stabilized her life and deserved equal parenting time. Her evidence: a new job as a receptionist at a hair salon, 3 months of therapy receipts, and completion certificates from the court-mandated parenting classes. At the modification hearing 6 months after the divorce, Celeste's petition was denied. The judge noted that while her efforts were commendable, stability required more than a few months of good behavior, especially given the severity of the issues that led to the current arrangement. Celeste left the courtroom in tears. I felt no satisfaction in her pain, just relief that Lucas would continue to have the stability he needed. The real change came 2 months later when Celeste missed her weekend with Lucas. No call, no text, nothing. I tried contacting her through the co-parenting app, concerned something might have happened to her. No response. On Sunday evening, I got a call from Linda. Celeste was in the hospital after a breakdown, been there since Friday night. Linda admitted Celeste finally realized she needed serious help, more than just weekly therapy. She was checking into a residential treatment center for depression and anxiety. The old Linda would have blamed me for Celeste's condition. The fact that she didn't spoke volumes about how bad things must be. She asked if Celeste could write Lucas letters while she's in treatment. The doctors thought it would help her recovery. I agreed as long as I could review them first to make sure they're age appropriate. Then Linda surprised me with an apology. She'd blamed me for everything that happened. Couldn't accept that her daughter would do what she did. It was easier to make me the villain. I told her Lucas still asked about his grandparents. They were welcome to visit him as long as we were clear on boundaries. Celeste spent 3 months in residential treatment. She wrote Lucas simple letters, stories about her day, questions about his activities, and reminders that she loved him. When she completed the program, she didn't immediately file for custody modification as I'd expected. Instead, she asked for a meeting with me and our lawyers present. She apologized for everything. She'd spent the last 6 months examining why she made those choices. She slid a folder across the table with a repayment plan for the money she took. Not much per month with her current job, but she was committed to making it right. She wasn't asking for changes to the custody arrangement yet. She needed to prove to the court, to me, and to Lucas that she could be consistent and stable. It was the first reasonable request she'd made since this all began. After consulting with Patricia, we agreed to a gradual transition plan starting with 4-hour unsupervised visits, working up to full weekends over 3 months provided Celeste maintained her therapy, job, and housing stability. Life today looks nothing like I imagined when I married Celeste. I still own the house, now updated with new floors and a finished basement where Lucas and I built an epic train set. I switched to a dedicated local route that has me home every night by 6 p.m. Less money than I could make on longer hauls, but the stability is worth it for Lucas. I've been hitting the gym more consistently too. Started with just basic weights and cardio when all this began. Needed something to burn off the stress. Now I'm up at 5 a.m. Most mornings hitting bench and deadlifts before Lucas wakes up. Physical routine helps keep my head straight. Celeste has remained surprisingly consistent over the past year. She's still working at the salon, has her own small apartment, and hasn't missed a weekend with Lucas in 6 months. She's slowly rebuilding her relationship with our son as a mother who shows up. Caleb occasionally sends Lucas birthday and Christmas cards from Denver. I let Lucas receive them only because I don't want Lucas to feel anyone has abandoned him. Caleb and I will never speak again, but I won't project that onto my son. Last month, I got an unexpected text from Celeste after she'd had Lucas for the weekend. She was grateful for how I'd handled everything with Lucas. He told her about the science project we'd worked on together. She said I was a good dad, always had been. I didn't respond, but I saved the message. If there's any advice I can offer guys going through something similar, it's this: follow the legal process, document everything. Keep your cool when it counts, and focus on what's best for your kid. The courts aren't always stacked against fathers like people claim. If you show up, stay involved, follow court orders, and put your child first, judges notice. I didn't win my divorce by destroying Celeste, satisfying as that might have been in the moment. I won by protecting my son, securing our future, and refusing to be manipulated or controlled. Celeste lost everything that mattered because of her own choices. Just yesterday, I overheard Lucas telling a friend at the park that his dad carries important stuff all over and makes sure he has everything he needs. Kid gets it better than his mother ever did.